And welcome back guys to my very own list of top games of 2025. It's something I've been thinking about since the reveal of the Game Awards 2025 nominees. And it's the fact of how little I cared about the nominees, since almost none of them spoke to me on gamer level and didn't make me play them this year. The only nominees that were like that were Megabong and Ballpit, whatever, however you want to call it. What you can expect from this video is that the first part is just a list of games that I played this year and immensely enjoyed them. Some I've even gone and gotten all the achievements. Second part is honorable mentions, mostly games that aren't full releases and were only released into early access on Steam. And the third part, and the last part, is gonna be a small closing statement. I did play more new releases than I usually play, but also feels like I spent less money, since I only got one game that was high priced, but otherwise usually the games were moving around that €20 mark. In general, this year was bad in a lot of senses, especially for gaming. On top of that, it was a weird year for me around gaming, where my habits have changed quite a bit and my playstyle tastes have morphed yet again. I didn't try to make the classic thing like top 5 or top 10 games and so on. I should also note that the position of the games doesn't matter, as this is just more of a laundry list of games rather than a tier list or something like that, mostly because I can't decide which of these games is my favorite, since I did enjoy all of them on equal parts. Of course, I played more games than the ones on the list. My channel here on YouTube is clear indication of that. Plus also my Twitch stream, where I stream quite few games that don't even appear here. You should definitely check it out. The link is in the description of the video, but if you want to know it, twitch.tv/pressstart for more for now. Some of the games that appeared on my channel and were also this year's releases don't appear here. I don't really like to give too many positions or clear winner. Every one of these games brings something special into this year and of course also brings enjoyment and that bit of escapism from real life. I would give the game their own scores and so on, which might make it some sort of placement, but this is not meant to be a review of these games. These are just recommendations for good games that were released this year and deserve some recognition for a good job done. If you would be interested into a deeper look into these titles, or any other titles of your own choosing, leave them in the comment section and I will give them a look. After all, I always wanted to take a dip into the review aspects of gaming and could be interesting for the future of this channel. Before I start, however, just want to point out that the nominees in my list are, obviously, my opinion and should be taken as exactly that. Just opinions. Now, without further ado, let's get straight into this video topic. First part, the top games of 2025, and the first nominee is Cronos, The New Dawn. A third-person survival shooter that felt from the start to finish as a game made by people who grew up with Dead Space. For me, this was this year's most expensive game that I bought and played and could be considered maybe top 3 game of this year, being almost as good as Dead Space. Enjoyable combat with satisfying exploration of a very grim and brutalist environment of alternative universe Poland that was hit by an unknown virus that ravaged humanity and created a somewhat interesting enemy for you to fight. The game for me could be considered almost perfect, though it did have some issues. For example, at one point the enemy variety kinda started to be repetitive. The same could be also said about the boss fights. And the biggest slight of any game? Bad inventory. The inventory made the whole game experience drag down by 1 or 2 points. Luckily, no game-breaking bugs or too many frame rate drops, which I would also consider a win for Unreal Engine 5. Yay! Anyway, definitely belongs on my list and something of a must-play for Dead Space and other shooter horror game fans, with just the low price of €60. Yeah, as I said, priciest game I played this year. Farthest Frontier, a somewhat surprising release from a studio I wasn't expecting to release this kind of genre. The creators of Grim Dawn, Create Entertainment. Farthest Frontier was a long time in early access, but was released this October. Since it's a city building strategy, I of course had to immediately try it out. In December, and been mostly playing it on stream through December over at twitch.tv/pressstart for more. And I must say, it's probably my favorite city building and resource managing game in the last few years. The economy of the game is sufficiently demanding and hard to master, while the combat part adds the sprinkle of interest that keeps you on your toes. Of course, as is usual, it does have some bad aspects that I didn't like too much. That would be combat itself, that oftentimes felt quite shoddy and not properly implemented, where units were blocking themselves and getting stuck on different walls and fences. It felt like somewhat clunky. And the second part, the tutorial, where It somewhat drops you into the game with only the real basics, but nothing much, and then it feels like stumble down a mountain. Don't be afraid of restarting quite often and getting stuck on some mechanics. It happens quite often. The game doesn't hold your hand. The only way I got through the start was with a helpful chatter on the stream that helped me out. Anyway, as I said, probably my best city builder for this year and maybe even the last 5 or so. For fans of strategies and city buildings, go for it. It's only 34 euros. Ball X Pit, or Ball Pit, whatever you like to call it. Ball Pit. Such a weird title that got me and held me by my balls. Demanding it to be played, and play it I did. Damn it. So much I 100%ed it, by mostly not playing it, which I will explain in a bit. I must say, I can't say the game had any annoying or bad points. It genuinely felt really good to play, and the resource management was also fun addition and a good downtime between runs. It wasn't even too much grindy like other types of roguelikes you can play out there. Most of the achievements weren't even insane to get. Nothing was really bad. Now, the only weird part would be the end game, where the game becomes a sort of idle AFK mobile game, where you only start mission with a certain character and then you fuck off and do your dishes, cook or do any hobbies or anything you want for about 15 minutes while the game plays itself. Of course, you also have a must-have 24-hour offline collector where the game will give you resources for the amount of time you were offline for the day. Yeah, so it does feel like slight regression in the end, where you go from manual playing to automatic grind like in some sort of mobile gacha game. Wasn't the biggest fan of that, but it didn't ruin the experience too much, at least not enough for me to not 100% the game. Plus, for 15 euros, the game is good looking, gameplay is fun and changes with each run, so definitely go for it. Drill Core. Again, a game coming out of early access and that I fell in love the moment I played it. A platform managing tower defense game combo that just works. I did multiple videos on all 3 playable races or platforms and a lot of the weapons available for you. It's been just getting better and better. Since the release of the game into 1.0, we had multiple major updates that added more fun things to grind for and more enemies to grind into fine mist. Things like departments, more qualifications, collectible items, and so on. For fans of tower defense games, a must-have for your library. Again, another roguelite on my list, but let's be honest, 2025 was the year of roguelites, and I don't think it will end, especially since people start to love these types of games. Plus, for the price of 1950 euro, it was worth every penny, and especially if you play on Steam Deck since it runs almost perfectly on it. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. And yet again, another game on the list that came out from early access into full release this year, and on top of it, it also is another roguelite. Yay! Trust me people, maybe it's yet another roguelite, but it's a fun one that was worth it in early access, and now it's just cherry on top. Yes, it is a top-down auto shooter where you become the walking bullet hell with funny quips from 4 famous dwarves. The game changed a lot from its early access form, and it has a good progression system, and its new gearing system adds another layer of building that makes the game more enjoyable, but also more rewarding, since you're not just getting materials to upgrade your stats, but also juicy and enjoyable gear we all love. Best part of the game is that the dwarves gameplay feels different enough from each other, and in my own humble opinion, anyone can find their own playstyle in it. On Steam, it is very positive. So close to that sweet OP status. And if you're a fan of those auto shooters, this should land in your collection. For 13 euro, it's a must-have game, especially if you play on Steam Deck like I do. It was one of the few games that got me through my bedbound days. Void War. Someone would say a simple FTL clone, and I would say you're not far off. The game does feel like FTL with a grimdark skin that is not Warhammer 40k, but that's heavily, and I emphasize heavily, takes inspiration from Warhammer 40k, which of course works, because everyone likes the grimdark, and I do too. It was a game that I spent hours upon hours in. If you've played FTL, you've played this game. It does have its own mechanics, especially the skills of your crew are a very interesting addition. Plus on top of it, with each difficulty a different boss ship at the end that has its own unique quirk, the game offers dozens of hours of enjoyment, with new updates still being introduced to this day. And with the price tag of 1950 euro, it's yet another game for nostalgia gamers or enjoyers of space combat to own and have in their own library. Now, on to honorable mentions. Super Fantasy Kingdom, a somewhat surprising drop of a game that was released into its early access version this year. And I must say, I was genuinely gladdened by how well the game was already playable and how much it offered. It's a roguelike strategy game where you build your own kingdom and defend it from endless waves of enemies and bosses with your party that you employ. All is centered around how well and fast you can grow your economy so you can recruit and upgrade your units faster than the enemies can overwhelm you. Of course, the game has to offer more, like already 2 playable factions, Human Kingdom and the Undead, and quests directly in the runs with rewards for your own good. Haven't made video on it yet, since the game was updated constantly and quite often, and a lot of things changed. But maybe next year I can take a look at it. Of course, it was already played on my Twitch channel, and I must say, I did immensely enjoy it, especially for its low price of 15 euros at the time of this video, while it was in early access. I must say, the dev team of Super Fantasy games did cook quite well, and I am happy that Hooded Horse released another strategy classic. Nine Kings, and yet another game published by the GOATs at Hooded Horse. Made by Sad Socket that made Not So Sad Game. It's a roguelike kingdom builder where you choose one of the many kings available to you and defend your kingdom from ruthless rebellions and rivals, with your variety of cards and hopefully the RNGesus on your side. We know after all how infuriating it can be to get the cards you need for your build. Already covered on this channel few times and multiple times over at Twitch, it definitely wormed its way into my heart and made me waste few dozen of hours in it. Luckily, developers do update the game frequently and bring in new interesting cards and quality of life upgrades that are always needed. For the price of 20 euros and with glowing Steam reviews, it's a must-have strategy game. Brain is needed for it though, since you need to think about what you do. Surprising, right? A strategy game where you need to use your brain. Town to City. And probably the last honorable mention that can land on the list is Town to City. A cozy city builder that is just lovely, and I had to try hard it so much I 100% the game and from time to time return to it when I want to chill and unwind. A game that appeared on this channel once and I did recommend it at the time, and I can still say that that recommendation still stands. It's a beautiful looking game with easy enough mechanics to not stress over them while building your own dream city with all its decorative systems. I think that personally, this game has the best decoration system in any other game. The number of decorations you can put on the houses and work buildings sometimes feels limitless and is open to your imagination. If you need to relax by something cozy and not stress about your citizens dying all the time, go for this. It's a really fun and chill game. And yes, I know, it feels like a rarity coming from this mouth, a word like chill. And with that, it's the end of the video. This is genuinely just a short list of my most popular games I've played in 2025 and were released this year too. Nothing too fancy, somewhat of a budget gamer, but they brought a slight spark to a downward spiraling feeling about gaming in general. Hopefully, some of these games caught your interest and maybe you actually played them too? If you did, just leave a comment and tell me about what of these games you played, or even tell me about the ones I left out. Now, I would normally just say to take care of yourselves and bye, and end the video. But not today. No. Now, I will wish you all Happy New Year and a lot of luck and health for the next year. Since it's the end of 2025 and we turn the page to 2026 and hopefully better times. Thank you for all your support, guys, and your loyalty. Whoever still watches. I wish you the very best and Happy New Year and see you next time. Bye!